In the next couple minutes, I'm going to give you guys what I believe to be the perfect study snack. But before I do, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more videos on studying and productivity. Now, a good chunk of my advice for this video is actually going to be coming from a book I read called Managing Your Mind and Mood Through Food. And this book essentially outlines if you want to eat for performance, so cognitive performance, being sharper mentally, whether it comes to school or business or anything else, it outlines the sort of foods generally that you want to be eating. And I think it's very useful for studying, especially for college students. And the first and sort of most prevalent tip they give throughout this book is that if you want to eat for mental performance, you want to reduce the amount of carbs and sugary foods that you're eating. When you eat a lot of carbohydrates, especially really sugary foods, you tend to get a spike in your insulin levels. And this results in excessive binding of a protein called tryptophan to another blood protein called albumin. And I know this is all very technical, so you don't have to worry too much about, the intricacies of this. But essentially, tryptophan is a protein. It binds to albumin, which then allows tryptophan to be moved to the brain, which then turns into serotonin, and from there, serotonin turns into melatonin, which some people know as sort of the sleepy chemical, which it's released when you're in the dark, when you're trying to fall asleep, and it might make you drowsy if you're just eating a ton of sugars and carbohydrates. So if we're not supposed to be eating a ton of sugar, what should we be eating instead? And the answer to that is proteins. A lot of proteins have an essential amino acid called tyrosine in them. And what tyrosine does is it blocks the binding of tryptophan to that blood protein called albumin I talked about earlier. And what that does is it stops tryptophan from moving to the brain and stops the production of melatonin to some extent. So when we eat proteins, it has sort of the opposite effect of carbs and makes us more alert by blocking these sleepy chemicals. And another effect of eating this protein is that the tyrosine that's released into our body is also the precursor of another molecule called dopamine, which a lot of people know as a chemical related to reward and excitement and pleasure. But it also has the effect of increasing alertness and energy levels. So the first takeaway, if you're planning out a study snack, make sure it has some amount of protein in it and not too many carbs and not too much sugar. Now that's one aspect of my perfect study snack, but there are two more things I want to include. And the first thing is the fact that when you're not eating a ton of sugary, really addictive foods. So a lot of people will go into a study session and immediately we get tired, we're bored of studying, and we just want something satisfying. We're craving something and we just want chocolate, something sweet, anything that's gonna sort of satisfy our sweet tooth or our cravings to sort of just relieve our stress through eating. So if you're eating protein, generally you're probably not going to get that same satisfaction as if you were to eat a chocolate bar. So we need something to satisfy that craving while at the same time not making ourselves more tired by eating a bunch of sugar. So we're eating protein, that's good. Now the second part of my perfect study snack is basically something that just keeps your taste buds distracted. So I think gum is an amazing part of any study snack because you're getting that satisfaction of chewing on something that tastes sweet, but at the same time you're not loading your system full of sugar. And you're able to sort of just snack on this for a long period of time without getting too much of that drowsiness that might be associated with a ton of carbs or a ton of sugar. So really gum or anything to satisfy that craving, I think is a super useful part of any study snack. And now the final part of what I think makes the perfect study snack, I think should only be used at times. And that's coffee. And as I said, this should only be used sometimes. We don't want you drinking coffee just for the sake of drinking coffee because you're a college student and you think you should and everyone else is doing it. We want you drinking coffee only when you're really, really tired and it's actually impairing your ability to focus or study or get work done. And also definitely keep your own personal tolerance to caffeine in mind. So I don't want you drinking coffee just because I've said that it can be useful for me. If you notice that coffee is something that's helpful for you when you get tired in your study sessions, when your mind starts to wander, then sure, by all means have a little bit of coffee, but keep it simple. Don't add too much sugar or extra ingredients. Keep it simple. That's the bottom line. So just to recap, my perfect study snack is some kind of protein to keep you wakeful and alert, some kind of chewy candy, maybe gum or anything else without a ton of sugar to just occupy your taste buds and make it so you're not craving excessively. And third, coffee if need be. If you're really tired and you notice that you're getting some brain fog, Coffee can be a useful tool to help in your study sessions, but you shouldn't use it all the time and you shouldn't use it excessively. Now, I really appreciate you guys watching until the end. If you like videos like this on studying and productivity for college kids, I recommend you subscribe because there's going to be a whole lot more soon. But until then, I'll see you guys.